What makes a film or TV show collection worthy? First, I should start by defining what I mean by collection worthy. I've always been a physical collector, which is to say that I own physical copies of everything I like. Well, not just like, it's definitely more than that. In order for something to make it onto my collection shelves, it has to pass a few tests. 1. Does it hold up under rewatch? The easiest way to answer this question is to watch things multiple times before buying them. My general rule of thumb is 2 viewings, an initial first cold viewing and a later rewatch. Watching something new is exciting, and first-time viewings are often a bit more forgiving. We're seeing everything for the first time, so it's harder to view the material more critically. That's also why it's important to space out the rewatch from the initial viewing. If I watch a new movie and absolutely love it, I wait several months, even up to a year before I rewatch it. I make sure to give myself lots of time to cool down from my initial positive reaction. This allows me to review the material without any bias. It's also important to rewatch things because our state of mind, mood, and the people we watch things with alters how we receive them. If you're feeling lonely, you may be more open to a romantic film to provide a type of vicarious escape for you. Then, when you no longer feel that way and watch those same lovey-dovey films, they come across as formulaic and bland. If you're not in the mood to watch an action film, but you do anyways, you might just not receive it well. For example, the first time I watched The Raid, I just wasn't in the mood for an action flick, especially one of that intensity. I know it's gonna sound nuts, but I wasn't overly impressed with The Raid the first time I watched it. But I gave it a second chance, and it's a good thing I did, because it's a fucking masterpiece and probably one of the greatest action films of all time. When we watch things with people we're close to, it puts us in a happy state. This positive feeling often becomes associated with the movie or TV show you're watching together. Then, when you later rewatch the same movie or TV show by yourself, you don't get that same feeling, and you look at the work more critically. I've rewatched lots of movies I previously watched with friends that didn't hold up. I remember loving them, but a lot of that was just the positive feelings I got from spending time with my friends. One of the other most important reasons to rewatch things is age and nostalgia. When we're younger, we're constantly changing and trying to find ourselves. Our personalities shift and our interests and tastes evolve. Movies we loved when we were younger, we can no longer stand. Cartoons we grew up watching often don't hold up under critical analysis as adults. I think at some point every movie buff does the nostalgic test. You know, when you start to rewatch all the shit you loved as a kid and slowly realize how bad most of it really is. Let's be honest, kids' taste in pop culture is generally shit. Bottom line, give everything a healthy rewatch. Number 2. Is this movie or TV show infinitely rewatchable? This is a little trickier to define, but connects directly to test number 1. After you rewatch something, did you have the same positive reaction? Was the material good, or was it great? Once I answer those questions, the next question I immediately ask myself is, could I see myself watching this over and over again? And do I even want to? This is a very subjective thing. Disregard how anyone else feels about the same work. What you're trying to figure out is if you could rewatch something forever. I like lots of movies that aren't in my collection. While I enjoyed watching them once or twice, I don't think I would always want to watch them again. You can enjoy watching something but not feel the need to rewatch it. Sometimes you've already seen everything a movie or TV show has to offer. This is a difficult question to answer, and it should be. Real estate on your collection shelves is limited. Every physical item on your shelves needs to justify why it's there. If you own movies that you don't ever really watch, you shouldn't own them in the first place. This leads me to my next test. Number 3, do you personally connect with it, or are you just using it as shelf filler? I made this simple mistake when I first started really getting into movies. I'd go out every week and buy movies from the most popular directors like Tarantino, Tim Burton, and Christopher Nolan. I'd make lists of franchises I liked and seek out every title from series like Tremors, Friday the 13th, and Dragon Ball Z. When you take this consume everything in sight approach, it definitely helps to expand your knowledge of pop culture. But unless you take the next step, you'll never actually refine your taste. While it's neat to own every James Cameron movie, which ones do you actually enjoy watching and which ones are you going to continue to rewatch? Once you've made that distinction, You need to audit your collection and purge the titles that don't make the cut. Doing this will help you better understand your own tastes and find more collection-worthy materials. That's why I don't encourage impulse purchases at video stores or with boutique movie labels. You no longer have to buy movies physically to watch them. I recommend you watch things any way you can, legal or otherwise. That's why I have streaming subscriptions. It's a much cheaper option to watch new movies and TV shows that are coming out. Don't be sold by the fancy packaging of boutique video labels like Scream Factory, Arrow, or MVD. If you're not going to keep rewatching something, why own it? It's serving you as nothing more than a shelf filler. It may be pretty to look at, but you're not actually doing anything with it. I first heard the term completionist when I got serious about video game collecting. It referred to collectors that had to complete console libraries. For example, someone who is a completionist for N64 wouldn't be satisfied with simply owning the greatest hits. They'd have to have every game made for that console. I see this same completionist mindset among movie collectors all the time. I think it's probably most apparent among the horror movie collectors. These collectors go out of their way to find a physical copy of every piece of shit obscure horror movie ever put to celluloid. To be clear, I'm not actually shitting on this type of collector. There's something admirable about taking on such a challenge. And I also think it's pretty cool to have your own little archive library of content. I would just rather have a refined collection. Just the cream, no chaff. But do I own stupid shit that doesn't really pass my own tests? Absolutely. And this is where the other part of the question comes in. Do you personally connect with it? If you personally connect with something in your collection, then it doesn't matter if it's quality movie or infinitely rewatchable series. I own the X-Men animated series on DVD. Critically viewed, it's terrible. But I own it because watching it gives me a shot of nostalgia, and I want the convenience of doing that whenever I want. And for me, if I don't physically own something, then it's not really in my collection. Owning a movie, TV show, or video game physically gives you domain over that work. It grants you the freedom to watch or play something whenever you want without restriction. You're not limited by what's available on Netflix or PlayStation Plus month to month, and never have to worry about content being removed. Own it physically. Digital ownership is just an illusion. I hope this methodology helps you to refine and better your own personal collections. Your collection criteria might be completely different than mine. Really, all it comes down to is whether you want something in your collection or not, regardless of what I or anyone else says. My standards are very high, and I take collecting very seriously. That's why when I watch movies and TV shows, I always ask, is this collection worthy?